bringing back to Dr. Nana's point about TVET, right? So like, I assume that not many people understand what the actual meaning of TVET is. So would you like to share a bit about it?
Okay. It's an acronym, Technical, Vocational, Education and Training. People say it as TVET. A lot of people misuse the word. They say TVET education, which doesn't make sense actually. Because the E there.
Right.
So don't use the word TVET. It's more like a TVET learning or TVET system. Those are the words that sort of make more sense. So that's why I say you have to understand where TVET comes from.
Hello and welcome back to the Daily Show with me, John Stewart. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. Today I just feel like wearing John Stewart.
Right.
Punya clothing hari ini. But do you guys know John Stewart?
Well, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're back in the Daily Show.
Oh, John Stewart. Okay.
Right. Yes, John Stewart, the Daily Show. Yeah. But I'm not John Stewart.
Yeah.
But today I might be just the Malaysian John Stewart. Right. We'll see how far my comedy goes in this podcast. But anyways, this is not the Daily Show, but this is What Now, Jawan Lepa. So What Now, Jawan Lepa is a youth podcast actually, where we interview young prominent people and we also discuss on all things youth that is relevant to the youth and how we can benefit and impact them.
That's why we were invited.
Right.
Yeah.
This is just a facade here. Don't.
Your age doesn't look young, but your personalities are. Yeah,
that's
just
nice to know.
Listening to the conversations
Right.
you guys had are just very, very, very young. Yeah. But anyways, so you guys might be wondering why we're not inviting young people today, right? Well, for this mini-series, it's the education mini-series, okay? So we just did an episode with Zainal Azhar talking about school reforms and everything. And today, we're going to talk about more on TVET. TVET, right? So I think this is lessly discussed on the in the news. Mostly we talk about like classrooms and then, how do you make the secondary and primary education better, but less on TVET. And this is why we need to talk about it, because I think we're looking at the global perspective. I think Miss Fiona will, talk about it, how important and how relevant it is today, especially with the rise of AI and also automation, right? So this mini-series is in collaboration with ASLI, Asian Strategy and Leadership Institute. Who is ASLI and what they do? So ASLI is a think tank under the Sunway Education Group, right? So their niche market is more on nation building and leadership, right? So this podcast is under the nation building aspect. This mini-series is really talking about prominent educators, those who are prominent in the education industry, right? And we want to talk about all the reforms that we can do to make sure that Malaysia goes in the right direction, and also discuss and also share the fascinating stories of amazing individuals. And I guess this is probably the first episode that I'll probably speak fully in English. This is going to be a bit hard. I can speak fully English, but like usually with most of my guests, I slip a little bit BM here and there. But before that,
I can speak BM well.
I'm afraid I can't. I do understand bits and pieces.
Okay, right, no worries. So today we're going to talk about TVET with two iconic is, I guess not iconic, but more prominent people working in the industry, right? We have the former Deputy Director for Pembelajaran Digital dan
Instruksional dan Pembelajaran Digital.
Oh, Instruksional. Yeah. It's a very long name.
Right.
Yeah. And we also have from the High Commission from Australia, Miss Fiona, right?
Hi, everyone.
And of course, I have to shout out courtesy to Daniel Rahman.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you.
Okay, anyways, right. So for this part of the podcast, we're going to listen to the worldviews and upbringings, and then we get deeper into the spicy content of TVET, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah, but before that, I'm just wondering for both of you guys, right? Have you guys ever, thought that you guys will be in TVET, in this industry? Have you guys ever thought about that? Like, I don't know, like after you finish school, you be like, I want to join TVET. Have you guys ever thought about that?
Well, for me, it wasn't something that I really had thought about, and my work in TVET has really mostly happened in kind of the last 10 years or so. I actually studied law. I did a law degree and fully intended to be a lawyer, but then by the time I finished my law degree, I did not want to be a lawyer. And I kind of fell into working in education, but I worked at a university then. I worked at the University of Queensland. So it was only later in my career that I started doing work in the TVET space. But it's a really interesting aspect of my work, and I have a really great appreciation for TVET.
Right. What we don't know.
Growing up, of course, the word TVET, I have no idea what TVET was. Yeah? It didn't even cross my mind. And it only became prominent when I started working in the Malaysian Polytechnics about 30 odd years ago, right? I had a degree in architecture and so on. I never really thought about teaching, in fact, right? But that was 1986, times were bad. And I was looking at my dad. My dad said, okay, I think you better switch jobs. Let's apply for the Malaysian Polytechnics. So I applied and I got, my first posting was in Alostar. In Kedah, Jitra. Jitra was a cowboy town. There was only one light at this side. The other light was on their side, about a mile down, and small shop houses. So it was a pretty fantastic experience for me, in a sense that you are really part of something new. The new Polytechnic has just been set up. There's not much people around. There's not much anything around. You're there on your own, bujang. You're bachelor there, and only then you learn about, I'm part of this TVET community as well. So that's where I sort of appreciated my role as an educator. Both my parents were educators, and I hated being a teacher because that's my parents. That's not me. I don't want to be there. And look at me, 30 years on, I'm an educator and I love the job and so on. So, you can never say your future, how is it going to turn out. So that's how I got into TVET, and I have been someone who sort of fights for TVET, someone who believes in TVET, someone who says that TVET is actually the future, of how things are going to progress and so on. So I become sort of a person who fights with,
I actually I've been to your department.
Okay,
I think you Dr. Actually, so you're not Dr. Fiona. You've been to the department, right? Yeah, it's very cool. Like, I have to admit.
Yeah.
Like, the first thing I saw was creativity. Yeah. Like, and I heard that it was you who implemented it, like putting all the creative designing and everything.
Okay.
So,
Okay. BIPD, or Instructional and Digital Learning, is about getting the lecturers to be creative in teaching, right? You cannot have an old school mentality of using chalkboard and so on. You have to create new ways of teaching. So if we at the HQ is not within a creative space, how do you expect, the things that we deploy to Polytechnics and so on to be as creative as possible? So that's why we tried to create an creative environment. You went into the meeting room.
yeah, definitely.
Imaginarium. I don't know whether it was there when you went. It's orange in color. Yeah, so it's called the Imaginarium. This is our meeting room. Yep. And from there on, we imagine of things that we can deploy to the Malaysian Polytechnics using all kinds of e-tools and so on. So creativity is very much an important feature in instructional and digital learning.
Right. Actually, when Daniel came to me and said you were, doing TVET and all, and I searched you up, it's pretty interesting that you were part of e-TVET, which I haven't heard of.
Okay.
Yep. But I think we'll touch one later in the second segment, right? But, you guys have been quite, in there, right, in the TVET scene, right? I think more than 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, you've been more than 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So, like, what's the most notable changes you guys have seen in TVET, and how much of a difference does it make an impact to the students?
Okay. People are talking about it more. That's a big change, right? 30 years back, well, we knew we were part of TVET, but it was not spoken of. It was, the academic sphere was really dominant as compared to the TVET sphere. Now, 30 years onwards, suddenly, you have prominent people talking about TVET, the importance of TVET, although there's a lot of things more to be done. But it shows that the ball has started to move, and hopefully it will benefit TVET in the long run. So that's the thing that sort of is changing.
Right. What about you?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think Australia is at a different phase of its development too. You know, we really spent a lot of time building our TVET sector probably 40 years ago. And then the focus was ensuring that we were giving more access to university to everyone. So I think maybe there was a period where we didn't have as much focus on TVET. And now it's part of the conversation again. And I think it's really important. And I know that what our Minister of Education is trying to do now, they did a big review of our universities recently. And part of the results of that review, the report was saying they really want to integrate TVET and universities much more closely. The systems need to be more integrated. And I think that's a really nice change. But certainly in Australia, people have a really strong appreciation of TVET. They have an understanding that it's a really important component of our education system. Of course, many parents only want their kids to go to university, but there's lots of parents who recognise that their kids actually are much more suited to a TVET career and would be happier doing a TVET career. And I think one of the things that we're really trying to do is promote flexibility between the systems too. You can start off doing a TVET course and then go to university, or you can start at university and then go to TVET. And that's something that's getting much more acceptance now too.
Yeah.
Definitely. I feel like having TVET gives an additional pathway, right? And also an additional option for, I think it gives different types of choices for the different types of abilities that we all naturally have. Right? Like not all of us can be academicians, right? So I think TVET itself gives an additional component to those who are, more hands-on, who are more into automation, into really crafting something. Yeah. Actually, I've never been been in a TVET school yet, but I don't know how's it like being in a TVET school in Malaysia. Have you experienced?
Yeah, I have been to one before, but certainly I've been to many in Australia as well. I think they're amazing. Some of the ones in Australia now are so fantastic, and they're really well integrated with industry, and the technology that they employ is fantastic as well. They're really great places to be, and it's so nice to see the students there, and they have such nice facilities now too, and they kind of integrate it with cafes and restaurants and things. And I think that's really important. It needs to be a place where people want to be.
Yeah. Right. What are you, Doctor?
Well, 30 years ago, I was in the first Malaysian Polytechnic in the north, right? I personally feel that a lot more can be done.
A lot more can be done.
Right? We have come this far, but we have not yet crossed a certain barrier. We are still within the old industrial arts mindset. Industrial was it was pre-TVET in doing right. A lot more can be done. Of course, definitely, lots more are being done at the same time. But it takes time to change people's mindset, to get things moving and so on. So I think there's a big room for change. And I believe that if we solve this TVET problem correctly, I mean, it can open doors, it can create, it can be more lucrative, you can have more students in, and as Fiona said, the important thing is industry is willing to participate, and we are participating with it, and it becomes a lively sort of environment.
Yeah. I think one of the things that one of the common things that I listen to when people talk about education in Malaysia is that there has to be a lot of collaboration done, right? And I think I really like Fiona's point when Australian universities and TVET institutions are working simultaneously.
yeah.
And I think this could benefit a lot of people. Yeah. Because I feel like, TVET has the hands-on experience,
Yeah.
and the institution itself, the learning institution of universities have the academic qualification. So I think it's like a win-win, all-in-one package.
Absolutely. And we have a number of universities in Australia that we call dual sector institutions. So they offer higher education courses and they offer TVET courses as well. And they're really well integrated into the landscape. And in fact, the University of Wollongong, which has a campus here in Malaysia, they bought a private Malaysian education institution called KDU, which you might know. And so KDU was a university college, and they have a really strong and highly regarded hospitality school. And if you go to their campus, their hospitality and culinary facilities are outstanding. And I think that's really nice mixture of the two as well.
And I think one thing that frustrates me the most in Malaysia, I think you could relate to this, Dr. Nana, is that we like to work in silos.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Which I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm in a bubble. Do correct me if I'm wrong, viewers. But like, I would like to know if there's a lot significant collaboration between private institutions and local institutions, and then also with TVET. I would really want to know that, because maybe this could enhance more of the conversation when it comes to education. If we have the effort, but we need to push more on the execution.
Well,
Yep.
okay.
But I think we'll move that part of the conversation into the second segment, where we're going to talk more about policy and really understanding what TVET is, right? So we've been talking about TVET. Tapi apa benda TVET ni kan?
Okay.
So we will move into that segment. So we'll see you in the second segment. Okay, welcome back to the show. Right. So we just talked about the worldview of Dr. Nana and Ms. Fiona. Yep. It was quite interesting learning that you guys have somewhat of a history with TVET education. Yeah. And I kind of wish that I was in a TVET school, because I'm an engineer. I'm studying engineering. Yeah. So I would like to know hands-on about the automations, the things that engineers use. We like to get first-hand experience. Yeah. Have you guys ever thought of becoming an engineer? Just wondering if that ever had caught your eyes to become an engineer. Have you guys thought?
Me?
Yeah.
Creativity has always been my strong point. Visual learning has always been my strong point. So definitely I went for architecture.
Architecture.
Right. It is more appealing to me than engineering is, right? But sadly, I found out that architecture is not TVET. It is not TVET. Engineering is also you're almost in TVET, but you're actually not TVET. So you have to be careful what you mean by the word TVET.
I see.
Yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
Because Dr. Nadir pointed out to me yesterday, I missed one important question, which is what is TVET?
Yeah, what is
But it's okay, we will dive into it right now, right? But before we dive into that question, Anas, have you ever thought of becoming an engineer?
It's an interesting question. I was very good at maths and very good at physics at school. I didn't do chemistry or biology in the later years of school, but I always did really well in languages as well. So I probably would say that I lean more towards the humanities, and I decided to study law. I did look into engineering as an option, but I just didn't think it was me. Interestingly, later though, when I worked at the University of Queensland, I worked in the Faculty of Engineering.
Oh.
And it was my first time working with lots of engineers, and I was really struck by how differently they thought to me.
Really?
Yeah, really differently. And I was like, oh, who are these strange people? But actually, that was some of my favorite people to work with.
That's pretty strange, because it's funny how you mentioned that, because engineers are unique people, Yeah. Like I asked one of my video editors, and he asked me, what do engineers do? I have no clue, because it's so wide,
Right? It is really broad. I didn't really know what engineers did either.
Yeah, but actually, after entering degree, right, I have more appreciation to engineers.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So what do engineers do?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Built bridges, right?
That's a civil engineer. That's a civil engineer. But I think engineering itself is a very creative field,
Yeah.
right? Because you're not only just creating solutions,
Yes.
but you're also creating a product. You're trying to sell something for people to use on a long-term basis. That's when, I guess a good example of engineers and bridges are, like cars, airplanes.
Yeah.
I guess this lighting is also made by an engineer, probably. Manufacturing.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays engineers are very diverse, and I think the work they do is very, very crucial because it's always ever growing and
Yeah.
always in demand. But bringing back to Dr. Nana's point about TVET, right? So I assume that not many people understand what the actual meaning of TVET is. So would you like to share a bit about it?
Okay. It's an acronym, Technical, Vocational, Education and Training. People say it as TVET. A lot of people misuse the word. They say TVET education, which doesn't make sense actually,
Yeah.
because the E there.
Is already in? Okay, right.
So you don't use the word TVET. It's more like a TVET learning or TVET system. Those are the words that sort of make more sense. That's why I say you have to understand where TVET comes from. In a nutshell, there are three big components of TVET. We have got the education, we have got the education periphery, we have got the vocation periphery in it, we have got training, raw, brutal training. No theory, nothing, it's just training, right? So it's on you think of it as a continuum, right? On one end, you have got totally hands-on, totally training, right? Short courses, so on, to training. In the middle, you've got this a combination of academic and also training, practical session. So most of the things are there, right? And on the other hand, we have got more of a research TVET, right? So these are the three big components within this continuum that we have got to understand, especially policymakers. Because when you talk about TVET, there are different kinds of TVET. So I like to name things. That's just me, right? So I call this TVET where it's all totally practical. I call it skills first. The middle one I call skills fusion. The one that it's on the research side I call skills forward, because you're innovating it. And the whole thing is embedded in skills adapt, when we have got lifelong learning and so on and so forth. So as a policy maker, you really have to understand what you're looking at. Because TVET is such a big elephant, you cannot just say, you cannot use a blanket sort of design or strategy when there are so many types of TVET. And especially with Malaysia, 11, the last time I checked, 11 ministries are doing TVET.
What? That's a lot.
Yep. Fortunately or unfortunately, it's up to you to decide, right? So some are doing fusion, some are doing skills first, some are doing forward, some are just doing skills adapt. So we can complement each other. We cannot say this TVET is the true TVET. We cannot say that yours is not TVET. That kind of complementary thinking has got to exist for this country to get to move TVET. I think with the Malaysian TVET Council that that's just been sort of established, they're trying to do that, but it's still a long way to go, especially in understanding the role of TVET and how to look at it in proper terms.
So let me get this straight. So TVET is into three things, right?
Yeah.
So it's fusion,
Okay, we have got skills first,
skills first,
totally skilled,
totally skill,
right? We've got skills fusion,
skill fusion.
a blended approach. We have got 60-40, some are 30-70,
Right,
practical,
right.
And we've got skills forward. These are the research TVET
I see.
right? The higher education, where you only go there to get your master's or your PhD,
Okay, right.
and whatever you've learned, you come back to the industry to assist in the process, a prototype or so. So these are the three main branches, and they are embedded, I would say, into an ecosystem called TVET Skills Adapt, where lifelong learning takes place. Because without lifelong learning, people want new skills and so on and so forth. So they come in at each part of that to get something, to move on with their life and so on. So this is how you should look at it.
Right. So rather than see it as just technical skills,
Right.
it's more of like skills fusion, and then
Forward.
Right.
And if you look at countries that are well advanced, like Germany, you find that they are skewed towards skills forward, right? Because they are very innovative. They come up with research and so on. The industries are mature, right? So they're going this side, right? Oh, and then fusion is in the middle. There's less of skills first. But countries that are not there yet, you have got the graph goes the other way around. You've got two skills first, and then slowly it goes up to me, and then it goes really down on power because there's no innovation, there's no hardly anything. So where are we in Malaysia as far as that graph is concerned? Then you can plan something and move ahead. I'm sure Australia also looks at it as such a thing that TVET is not just one block of activity that's going on. So that's why I'm saying that you have to understand where TVET comes from.
I see. I guess you must be impressed by Dr. Nazim's explanation.
Yeah, I liked it. Sorry, I liked it a lot actually. And I was just thinking about the different names that we've used in Australia too, because we actually took the T off some time ago. So we actually use the term vet in Australia without the T. I mean, I use it a lot because I've worked overseas in many different places. But in Australia, if you're working in the education sector in an Australian domestic sphere, people will talk about vet and higher education. But even more recently, the shift has happened to talk about skills. So we really put it under the banner of skills development now, skills and training. So you actually even don't hear the term vet or TVET very often anymore. And interestingly, I have responsibility in my job here also for Singapore, and Singapore has moved to this naming of skills as well. So they have the Skills Future team that they have under their Ministry of Education as well. And we have an organisation now called Jobs and Skills Australia, which does a lot of research into Australia's future skills needs, and it also provides direction to our vocational education and training sector as well.
Does Malaysia have that, like one centre to look into the jobs?
Well, that was the plan when they set up this Malaysian TVET Council, but things have not yet moved in that direction. I think it takes time to set up things and so on. It would be good to have such a organization to look into the future of TVET. Just coming back to the word T is being taken out.
Yeah,
with the vet, right?
Yeah.
So America uses a different acronym. It's CTE.
CTE.
Yeah, I've heard a new one called PTET, Professional Technical Education. There's so many terms, and I heard Africa uses a different acronym totally. Yeah, so we have got TVET, we have got TET, we have got PTET, we have got CTE. So it gets the words, just the alphabet keeps on adding itself.
Yeah, I think we took the technical out to make it a more inclusive term because, part of our vocational education and training sector in Australia is things like tourism and hospitality and culinary skills.
Sure, America uses CTE, career technical education or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess they use the career instead of vocational. Yeah.
Maybe it's a better framing to help people be more attracted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You think Malaysia should adapt to that?
Personally, I think we are past. We don't change things. Let's stick to TVET and make sure people understand what TVET is. Okay. Right? We have really started that boat moving, so let's not go backwards.
Right. I think it's just confusing.
Yeah.
I think it's a Malaysian thing where we just want to add new things, but doesn't actually finishes.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's finish this.
Hey, Malaysia. But it's okay. I'm still very hopeful for what the country holds. Yeah.
I am too.
Definitely. But, talking about, this whole AI thing, right? So, you can see the pandemic shows how, we need to use technology, right? And I guess during your tenure as the BIPD director, you implemented a few things. right?
Right.
Which is e-TVET. I think you've heard of that, Miss Fiona? e-TVET.
Yeah.
Right. So the idea of e-TVET is basically incorporating technology into the classroom. So what does it look like? So it looks like having like a digital whiteboard using augmented reality, right? Am I getting the right points? Getting the right idea of how it's being used?
Okay, all right. Again, you have to separate the academic world and the TVET world.
Okay, right, all right. Maybe
yeah,
I'm in the
that's
academy.
it,
Yeah.
right. So a lot of things done within the academic world, the e-learning stuff, the digital learning stuff. Of course, in TVET, there's also the academic portion of fusion, right? So we use the same. We are using an LMS. We are using so all other kinds of application. That's fine. But what makes TVET different from the academic is the use of technology to bring together industries and institution within a common space.
I see.
That's the difference. If you can solve that problem, then you have got digital TVET on in your hands. If not, you're just following what the universities are doing, which is fine to a certain extent.
Yeah.
But you're not solving the TVET purpose or cause, and you're not using technology correctly. This is where you said, the smart board is in both worlds.
Okay,
Right, that's fair enough. You have got theories, you can use that, right? But VR and AR are also. But why are you using AR and VR? Again, for example, you're using this kind of technology so that students can put on their goggles and visit an industry and see how the industry arranges itself. Where are the cabinets? Where are the machines? Where are so on? So that there is this early on conversation with the students and the lecturers, so that they are sort of ready before they go for their final work-based learning or whatever program that they have. These are the kind of things that you are sort of bringing together in a TVET. So you've got simulation, you have got exploration, you have got visualization. These are the three things that AR and VR can assist most. And this is where we should explore, and I think the Malaysian Polytechnic has started. So we should visit one of the ones that have been equipped with this kind of technology to see how TVET, digital TVET is being approached. Then that differentiates TVET and the academic world.
Right. So it's more it's more of the industry experience.
It's immersion.
Immersion.
It's immersion
Right.
in a world that they are going to end up. Right? Yeah. So if you don't give that early on, you expect only towards the end, then they may be culturally shocked. They won't get as much as possible from the experience. They are thinking of other things. But towards the 6 semesters, you are giving them in pocket forms. By the time they get to the last semester, their mindset is totally ready for
In the industry, right?
working.
Some of the industries in Australia where we employ people who graduates from the TVET sector, mining, for example. Their use of AI and VR goggles and things like digital twins. I had somebody who works for Rio Tinto explaining that to me. So the kind of graduates that they have now from the TVET sector, they need to know all of that stuff, because what the mining sector wants to do is to try and remove people from the dangerous situations. They want to be able to use... Sorry, my microphone just dropped. They want to be able to do as much stuff remotely as they possibly can to remove people from danger, because, mines are dangerous places. Oil and gas rigs, they're dangerous places as well. So if they can get more of that dangerous and dirty work done through technology, and then have these grads know how to use the technology to do the same job, that's a great win for everyone, right?
So VR is being used extensively.
To be used really extensively, yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, aside from like VR and AR, is like any other technology used in TVET, or is it just that only?
So far, VR and AR is sort of under TVET. Those are the two main technologies proposed for TVET, and I can see why. It takes you to places where it's dangerous, places where it's too far to go, it's too expensive to visit, and it brings it into the classroom for discussion, for collaboration, for solving problems, and so on. So yeah, these two main 4IR technology, I can say that these are the two main 4IR technology. It's been should be extensively used within TVET. Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting idea because I feel like it helps students craft the conversation that they're having.
Yeah.
Because I feel like personally for me, this is coming from a university perspective, not from
academic sphere,
academic sphere, right? So like whenever I enter an engineering class, right? So in Malaysia, I find this pretty weird. Like you enter the class, you'll be thinking, okay, teknik menjawab, or the way how you answer a question. It's more of the technical aspect of answering rather than actually thinking about the idea itself. Right, I do understand to a certain extent because lectures cannot really change much of the system, but but the long-term effect for these students is that they aren't able to open their minds about the possibilities of the industry, of the engineering sphere itself. So it ends up talking about, have you finished your assignment or not? Oh yeah, or have you done this tutorial? Because I haven't heard anyone saying what do you think about the newest technology on hydrogen cars? What do you think about the National Energy Transition Plan?
Yeah.
What about nuclear energy? Right. Like, these are the types of conversations you would have within an engineering space. Yes. Yeah. So, and I feel like if AR and VR is there, I think it gives a better perspective.
Definitely. Yeah. You second year, first year?
I actually just entered.
Huh?
I'm in my SEM 3.
SEM 3 already. You're almost completing.
Oh no. I have another 3 more years.
Oh, 6 years. Engineering.
No. I took diploma.
Okay, all right.
And then yeah.
All right. Oh.
Yeah.
So maybe the conversations has not yet started in that particular year.
Yeah, but like
But you can start. Always can.
Yeah. I mean, of course I can.
Incrementally,
Yeah. Sure. But I think you shouldn't start during the last. Yeah. I feel like you should start now.
I hear what you're saying. I think in universities it's like there's a structure to a degree, and no, you must do this first before you can start talking about that. Whereas with TVET, it is much more practical and hands-on, and you are really doing things from the get-go. And I think that's the brilliant part of TVET, and particularly for people who are very, tactile learners, that's a great pathway for them.
Yeah. True.
One more thing, probably because to get students to think, it takes a longer time. Right? And time is a precious sort of commodity. Everything is tied up to the credit hours and so on and so forth. And you got things to do. So you don't really have that luxury of time to train people to think. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we come up with how to answer questions. It gets the job done.
But I mean, I don't know. I feel like, they should, personally for me, I feel like there should be at least 30 minutes to an hour to just talk about engineering. Like, I don't know. I feel like that there has to be a start somewhere, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe you could just, if the lecturer is there in university, why not share their paper? Like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Like, okay, what do you guys think about it? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Something simple.
Right.
Yeah, no need to do too drastic. Right. Yeah. But, that's pretty interesting. But since Miss Fiona is on the podcast, right? And you want to know more about the Malaysian-Australian dynamic. I know there's been some work, but could you share a little bit about how that dynamic is looking and how it's impacting Malaysia's TVET system?
Yeah. Well, I think Australia and Malaysia have had a really strong education collaboration and relationship for many years now. So my job in the Australian High Commission, so I'm one of the diplomatic staff, but I actually work for Australia's Department of Education rather than Foreign Affairs and Trade. So I am a specialist in education collaboration work, and that's education policy, that's working with education institutions, both in Malaysia and in Australia. So we do a lot of collaborative work as the Department of Education with the Malaysian Ministry of Higher Education and the Malaysian Ministry of Education. And of course, that's how I know Dr. Nana, through the Ministry of Higher Education and the Polytechnics team. But when I arrived here, I realised how many delegations had already been to Australia and really visited a lot of our vocational education and training institutions. So we have public vet institutions in Australia, TVET institutions, and they're called TAFE is the acronym, which stands for Technical and Further Education. So there you go. That's the old school term that we used to use.
Sounds old school enough, TEF.
Yeah, TAFE. Yeah, exactly. And so people really know that acronym. If you ask any Australian what TAFE is, they'll be able to tell you.
Right.
And it's like a really strong sense in the public consciousness of what TAFE is in Australia. And so many Malaysians that I've met have said to me, oh yeah, I visited some really great TAFEs in Australia. So a lot of people in Malaysia know Australian TAFEs as well, which is fantastic.
I know, when you say that, it sounds like it's like a food.
I know, it sounds.
Yeah, I was like, have you eaten that TAFE?
Yeah, have you eaten that TAFE? Yeah, they're really good. So there's been lots of kind of policy exchange, and lots of Malaysian colleagues have come to Australia looking at how our TAFE system has developed, our TVET system has developed, what the policy drivers are, how it fits into the rest of our system, how we've developed our quality assurance. I often get asked to speak. We've done lots of webinars together. Dr. Nana's been on a webinar that we've organised jointly with the Ministry of Higher Education, looking at the differences between our systems, the similarities between our systems, and frankly, I would say there's a huge amount of similarities between our systems. And I think we're always looking in Australia at how can we make this better. Sometimes that means we change things maybe a little bit too often, but I think with education more generally, it's always it's continuous improvement. And I think we do like a lot of work, and we fund different studies and things. So, for example, the Australian High Commission worked with the Asia Foundation and University of Malaya in 2022 to look at, how some recommendations on how Malaysia might be able to improve its TVET system, and the public policy faculty, the team at University of Malaya, the institute there, went and did a lot of focus groups with people in the TVET sector here in Malaysia. So we've done a lot of webinars and things, and in the last couple of years, we've actually sponsored a lot of Malaysians to go to Australia who work in the TVET sector. Mm-hmm. So we've got scholarships that are very specifically for TVET professionals. And these are not only for Malaysia, but they are ASEAN scholarships. So we're offering them to TVET professionals across ASEAN, and then we send small groups of these TVET professionals, kind of 20 or 30 at a time, to Australia to do 2-week courses. And we think it's a really great thing to do, because not only do Malaysian colleagues get to know about the Australian system, but they get to meet their colleagues in Indonesia, from Brunei, from Singapore, from all of the other ASEAN countries, Thailand, Vietnam, and to discuss the challenges that they're facing, the opportunities that they have together. So those courses have been on things like green skills, skills forecasting. So really, they're almost like professional TVET courses for professional TVET people.
Right.
Right.
Anything for people who retire?
You never know.
You have my number.
I mean, all you need to do is just ring Dr. Nana.
Yes.
I mean, lifelong learning, right?
Right.
You gotta keep on learning.
Definitely.
Yeah. I guess probably he's bored of retirement.
There it is.
Well, maybe you could write a book about Australian TVET.
Yeah. Can I would like to read that, because I know you are quite an author, though.
Yeah, I've dabbled a bit in creative writing. Yeah, so about one is more less fiction. The other one is more totally fiction. So I got 2 books out.
Okay, right. I think we actually talked a lot about how TVET is, just a general understanding, and also look into what we should focus on the policy, right? Maybe, and I think on the third segment, this is where we have our personal reflection and see where, what you guys think about the time you guys are working in this industry, right? Because I feel like, there's a lot of good a lot of good initiative from Malaysia, and also in collaboration with a lot of different countries and institutions, but we've always been lacking in execution. So let's talk about that type of that type of conversation in the third segment, and maybe a bit some more of other things. Right? See you in the third segment. That's a good pause. Right. Welcome back to the episode. Right. So we've just talked about the initiative, what TVET is, the dynamics between Malaysia and Australia, and how we should really look TVET when we discuss about it, right? So now is, I guess, more of a, I guess I can say it's a spicy conversation, right? Spicy conversation, because it's all good to talk about e-TVET and everything, right? But then the important thing is about the execution, right? So yeah. So one thing that I think has always been in Malaysians' mind, in the Malaysian mind, is that how do we have good planning but we have bad execution, right? So I think let's discuss it further here, and then maybe we can look into what if Malaysia is going in the right direction, right? Because I feel it's always good to have a reality check coming from another person. I can't do that with a lot of my friends. It's just a bit sidetrack. But like whenever I get too anxious, I would say, is this right? Is this right?
Yeah.
So I feel like this is what Malaysia is. It needs to be, is it right? Is it right? Yeah. But all right. Okay, let's start with the first question on the third segment. Right. So I think this is more to Dr. Nana, right? Because you've been in government, you can say. Yeah. You've been in government, you are a public servant, and you work with many different ministries, right? So like I said previously, there's always been good execution. There's always been good planning, but not more on the execution. Do you feel like there's a power? Do you feel like there is a power, asymmetrical power dynamic? Yeah.
Asymmetrical power dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because working with different ministries.
All right.
Yeah,
all
we're working with different ministries,
Okay.
right? So I think it's 11, 17, I'm not sure.
11 was last time I checked.
Yeah, 11. So like, are the ministries in check? Are they being aligned, or is there like something missing or something that is bugging them to execute it?
All right. Asymmetrical
Power dynamics.
power dynamics. Okay. Well, I'm not sure about asymmetrical power dynamics, right? But one thing I was very interested in what Fiona was saying, a lot of visitations have been done to TVET College. So why can't we execute it properly? Because we have not planned it well. As I told you, TVET is not just a supply story side, it's a demand side story as well. If let's look at Germany, if you really want to study, you go there, don't look at the schools. You look at everything else, what the government has done, what kind of policies, how they fund, how the industry is working together, the IHK, what are their roles, the socio-economic circumstances, the social structure, how they look at it. So everything plays a part in making sure that TVET succeeds. That is something that we do not do well, right? So it takes more than one ministry, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And working together across different ministries has always been that silo thing you're talking about, it has always been a problem, right? You got to have strong and visionary political people to bring people together and come up with and follow up the plan that you have done so that you're getting somewhere, right? So my saying is that why we failing execution, because we have not planned it properly. Even in the planning stage, we have not thought about the big picture. We are thinking only of one side, one school, you should do this, you should do that. And we have not seen how everything fits in, especially we're talking about Germany, everyone talks about TVET Germany. We are not truly seeing how the Germans are implementing the TVET within an ecosystem that supports making sure that TVET is survive and sustain. So we always miss that point. So that's where the planning fails. And of course, with that fails, the execution goes. You can have hundreds of books being printed out on glossy papers and so on and so forth. But in the end, you have not planned it well. There's no mechanism to bring people together. You have not talked about policies. There's no legislation to support and fund it continuously. Those are the things that are present in Europe that we can look as a whole, rather than visit one school, one TEF, one thing, and see what they are doing. These are again, in Malaysia, we like to say, let's go for the low-hanging fruits. Everybody's saying low-hanging fruits. What about the fruits out there? Who's tackling the fruits out there? They're getting rotten. You've got flying bats coming in and eating them. And in the end, everybody is just talking about low-hanging fruits. And the fruits are not going to be there for a long time. It's going to satisfy for a short period. But in the long term, you need to think of how to solve this problem. So hopefully we are getting there. There's always hope, but there's lots more to be done by the powers, quote unquote, in BIPD. And I think if they are serious about TVET, they see its potential, they will sort of emulate Germany in its totality if it's possible. Right? If not, we'll be talking about this in a different podcast. 5 years down the line, you'll be having more beer, and I will probably be on a walking stick. But the same story will sort of surface, and things will not change.
Right. It's quite interesting that you say that the planning is bad.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, is it oversaturated that we say that our planning is good? In terms of people say that the education blueprint was a very good plan, but do you think it's overrated now, considering that we cannot execute it well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what I've been saying. Yeah, it's too perfect in one sense, but it doesn't take reality into consideration. It doesn't take survival or sustainability into consideration. It's got all its checkpoints, it's got all its so-called quote-unquote KPIs to achieve, but you need funding, you need legislation, you need human resource, you need so many things that you can learn from these countries who are doing well in TVET and bring it down here and implement it step by step. Let's not go to Germany. Let's look at South Korea, Asian flavor. They have done tremendously. How are they doing things? How are they getting the legislation to talk to another? And how are they making sure that there's funding to support their planning continuously? Not this year, finish next year. So that's where we need to strengthen our execution strategy. And it's not only with Tibet, right?
No,
everything else. It's quite. If you ask me, it's quite a serious thing that we have to take into consideration. Everybody is saying we fail in education, we come out with blueprints. Yeah, well, of course, because your blueprints don't take that into consideration. It's just objectives to reach, and that's it. I don't know whether Germany or other nations have got blueprints like what we have produced. These are good blueprints, but let's follow through. And
right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Miss Fiona? Do you think that the Malaysian plan has always been good, but never has, and we immediately fail in execution?
No, I wouldn't say that. And I think that developing education systems takes a really, really long time. One of the things that Australia always gets asked about is the Australian qualifications framework. We've been doing a lot of work with different countries across ASEAN and in Latin America about building their own qualifications frameworks. And I always say to people, what you are seeing is the result of 40 years of working on the qualifications framework. It's not just something that we did a plan and then next year we had a qualifications framework. It takes a long time. And I think, to be really fair to Malaysia and to other developing and middle-income countries, implementation, policy execution is really, really difficult. Even in countries like Australia, which are developed and have, access to quite a lot of funding, we don't always get execution right either. And yes, we do have strategies and plans too. Sometimes they're executed well, sometimes they're not. I think it's actually much, much harder than people think it is. And I think Malaysia's done a phenomenal job. You guys have a great qualifications framework. And I know that in some of the discussions that we've had where we do kind of APEC workshops or ASEAN workshops, other countries in the ASEAN and Asia Pacific region are envious of Malaysia's qualifications framework. So I think you guys are actually doing extremely well. The TVET stuff is really challenging, and I think what makes it successful in Australia is that it's a commitment of the government and industry and the public as well. And that's how our funding system works for TVET as well. You know, you have part which is paid by the government, and we have levers that we can use in the government to say, well, because we really need skills in this area, we're going to make those courses free for the next 2 years. And so that encourages people to take on those courses. But you also have companies who are saying, well, you know what, we really need more people who are welders, for example. And a lot of it's the really old school kind of trades that we're finding that places like the mining companies are saying we can't get enough welders and we can't get enough electricians. And so they're the ones that are putting money into those things like apprenticeships and offering kind of in-house training, almost like the German model as well. And I think that you have to be conscious that a model like the German model, which relies very heavily on strong unions as well, like the unions are very involved in that process. I mean, the union movement here is quite different. So, so I actually think the German model wouldn't necessarily work here. I think Malaysia is taking some of the good things from a lot of different systems and putting them together. I think if there was one thing that I would, say that if Malaysia could change this, it would help enormously. I think that would be having it come under one ministry. As Dr. Nana said, there's 11 ministries at the moment. And of course that takes a lot of time to change that as well. And as I said, we're constantly moving our skills between the Department of Education and the Department of Employment too. So we have those discussions quite regularly.
Right.
Well.
I see. I guess the being with different ministries really does take a lot of time.
It makes it hard to kind of get agreement on the funding model and, how you can involve industry. And involving industry is difficult because we find in Australia industry will often say things like, well, we need these skills and when the young people have finished their training packages, we don't find that they have the right skills. And so then we say to them, well, we'd love you to be on our skills advisory board. And then they're like, oh, I don't have time to do that. And it's hard. But actually, I think we do have really good support from our industry people to feed into what those training packages look like. And that's kind of a continuous improvement process as well, because obviously the skills that we were training for 20 years ago are not necessarily the skills that Australia needs now.
I mean, talking about skills, right? One thing that Malaysia, I guess one of the how do I say this? A softer way? Oh no, not a softer way. One of the excuses that we say, is that we're a young nation. We're like 64, 66 years old already, and I guess we've progressed somewhat okay.
Right.
Yeah, but do you feel that we should aim to become a high income nation? I mean, there's a lot of benefits, definitely, like Australia, right? Australia, the US, Britain, but then again, the problem with high income nations is that you have a lot of demands, right? A lot of demands, a lot of skills, and then the pay is higher, and then it becomes a problem with TVET, right? So do you think we should just focus on becoming a nation of people that should, have high employability? Or should we still focus on that route to become a high income nation?
Well, it's all nations dream of becoming a high income. We want the economy to do really well.
Yeah.
Because by that the country prospers and everyone prospers, right? but the journey towards that the path is different for all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, different for everyone. I think if again we are to look at successful TVET nations, Singapore being one of them, Germany and so on, we find that the industry is more mature in the sense that they are more into research and innovation, and that sort of creates a lucrative TVET environment for the graduates, right? For example, you're an engineer. How much does an engineer get paid? Right. So again, these are the things that we should look at. And I'm sure the companies cannot pay well because they are not getting enough money to pay you guys well. But how do you change that? You have to compete internationally. You have to be bigger. You have to think more creatively, innovatively. You have to be out there. You cannot be too complacent. These are difficult things to do, but it's not impossible. If you really want to be a high-income nation, that's the path. And skills forward is the focus. Remember skills forward?
Skills forward.
You have to make sure that there are people. There's a support system for skills forward. You cannot rely too much on skills fusion. We are already at skills fusion. We have to move to skills forward and make sure that our universities support TVET and we support what the Australians are planning to do. That marriage between skills and academic together, so that it benefits both sides. So that's the thing.
So actually, talking about being a high income nation, right? One of the things that I discussed with Miss Fiona, during our Google Meet call, is that we discussed about frameworks, right? Frameworks. So what I understand in Australia is that you have a framework of qualification when it comes to I guess VET in this case, right? So if you want to become like an electrician, you must go through different types of process.
Right.
So in order for you to get one good pay, and then another one is to get good qualification, right?
That's right.
So do you think that Malaysia is lacking in this, Dr. Nana?
I was doing some research. It takes about 7 to 8 years for a baker in Germany to open up a shop. A baker, whereas here, anyone from a bakery family can open up a shop, and become a baker. So that shows the commitment of the profession, right? There is something that if you're really serious, of course you'll have to spend more time, get more knowledge in it, skills fusion, skills forward, everything that comes together, and only then you can be recognized as a professional baker. That's something that you have to really think about. Whether, of course, bakery is not our sort of main staple. So, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
Now you go anywhere, you see all the lampposts and the traffic light. Perbaiki jambat 01 something 0. So that shouldn't happen in entire TVET. Yes. If you really want to, that not anyone can just come in and change the water closet. It has to be someone who has got qualifications. Of course, he will charge more, but charging more will make, certain people feel unpopular and so on. So there's a lot of consideration of how you're going to move TVET forward. But those are the things that are being practiced overseas. It's working. Of course, things are expensive, but it gets into the higher income nation bracket because people are spending more, revenues are getting high. Well, we are still within this. I call my brother just to fix it. The WCE, as long as it flushes, that's all. Whereas in Germany, the moment you open up your sewage with the main pipe, you have to be qualified. Right? You can change, you can do whatever, but the moment you go into the public, the federal or the government's authority, you have to be qualified to make sure that the insurance is being covered and so on.
So, but does Malaysia have that type sort of system in order to make sure that we are in that high TVET nation status?
Does Malaysia have that
framework?
I don't know. It boils down to enforcement. It boils down to whether someone can change the closet and not be charged, whether the rest is illegal. In some countries, if you don't have the qualifications, it's illegal, that means you can be reported to court. I don't know whether the legislation is there. Even if it's there, how is the enforcement process, like, those are the many things. As I say, you go to a country, you look at it as in its totality, and then you think, what kind of TVET actually do you want?
Right.
Forget about Germany. You don't use the word Germany at all. It's too high. It's too different of a culture. They've got the apprentice system going on, for 500 years? Leonardo da Vinci and so on. And those people have started the TVET movement, and it has been with the industry for so long. They've carried it on. So now we're talking about we want to emulate, and then let's change the school curriculum and so on and so on. Okay, we can. It's a bit too far-fetched, if you ask me. But we can create our own TVET image. We have got great people working, just putting them together and be realistic in our target achievements, and maybe target a few professions, like what is happening in Penang. The semiconductors are sort of booming. Let's see what TVET can do for that.
Yeah.
Making sure they've got the right pathway, the right graduates, employees, and then slowly start with that, and then move on to other professions as well. It's a long time for a bakery to be 7 years old. It has to be a baker, right? Yeah. But you go to a baker, and I've been there. You talk to a baker person, he can tell you the wheat, the type of wheat, the grain, and what it does to bread, and how that kind of skill.
This reminds me of one experience that I go to my so I have this local barber in my place in Kajang, right? So talking about that, right? So this barber of mine, or I don't really have a personal. Let me just put it there. I don't have a personal barber, okay? Right, I don't have a personal barber, but I have like a barber that I commonly go to.
Yeah.
Right. So whenever I go to him, he knows like how to cut my hair. Right, it's so satisfying because he knows the type of hair, how to cut, and then how to make me look stylish. Right, and you can see, if you see my hair today, right, this was not cut by him. Clearly not cut by him. Okay. This was not cut by him.
I was wondering. Okay.
Damn. All right. I need to cut my hair with him. But yeah, but like. I feel so satisfied, and like it's so interesting actually. Like I've never thought that there's different ways how to take care of your hair. Like because I'm always frustrated with my hair because it's so curly, and it's so like a bit messy in some way. Yeah, so I'm just like, how do I make this? So he would like.
He knows your hair.
He knows. Yeah, he knows. Basically, he's like my hair doctor. Yeah.
That's the thing, right? And the apprenticeship system in Australia. Definitely not 7 years to be a baker. Normally, it's kind of a 3-year apprenticeship for a lot of our trades. So 3-year hairdresser apprenticeship, generally 3 years to be a plumber. But everyone in Australia knows that that's kind of the minimum level of quality, that everyone who can call themselves a plumber has that 3-year apprenticeship. And of course, you're going to get good plumbers and bad plumbers, but there's a minimum standard that you will get. And I think that's what people are paying for then. Because I did...
Peace of mind. This person has got this much.
Yeah. And of course, you can probably pay your brother-in-law to go and, change your lights for you, but you're probably going to have to go and pay somebody else to do it 6 months later.
Yeah. And honestly, just to bring back to that story of mine, the barber, he charged me for like 25 ringgit, and I was so happy. And I went to another barber that charged 25 ringgit. This is the quality I get.
Yeah.
Does he do your head sort of turn and massage it together?
No, he doesn't. No, what he do is like he just
massage.
No, he would just like grab my hair and like cut it there. As for him, he's so technical. Yeah. It's like cutting like this.
So the question is, would you pay him more?
Yeah.
Oh, I would. I would pay him more. Yeah. I would bet my money to pay him more. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. If you want to know who's my barber, you can just like.
So you're advertising his barber.
Yeah.
Can you put something like details in bio?
I guess I'll just say his name. Thank you. His name is, his nickname is Ipul, but I think his real name is Saiful. Yeah. So thank you, Saiful, for. I always appreciate it, man. It's really nice.
Oh.
Yeah.
And now you can charge 50 ringgit.
Yeah, he'll pay.
on me. Right. But I think that's great way to conclude the idea of TVET. You know, the idea that we should have like those regulatory frameworks, and then the quality it gets. I think that's the thing that we want. I mean, I really hope that we were able to reach that type of momentum in Malaysia, right? So, I guess we'll just end with 2 more questions in mind, right? So, I guess there's always the common talk for today is about AI and tech, right? Yeah. So like, so in Malaysia, like, it's always been perceived for B40.
TVET.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always perceived, but obviously it's not for those who are poorer and everything, right? So with AI and automation like rising and everything, what should Malaysia do to position itself to make sure that more people are gonna make TVET as a alternative education pathway for these type of industries? How should it position itself? Yeah.
Okay. You have to understand AI. I don't understand AI. I'm not into AI, but I understand the concept of AI. How you're going to use it? It's a tool like anything else, right? And to really use it effectively, you have got to decide whether you're on one side, which is creating the AI, which requires lots and lots of STEM
graduates,
which I would say we are having a problem with that at the moment.
Right.
So that's one big revenue there by itself, and India is doing a very fantastic job.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, well, I guess I guess that's that's why there's many videos coding based by Indians. Yeah.
And this other side, people who deploy AI, right? So there are those who create AI, there are those who work with the AI robots, there are those who maintain the AI system, there are those. So these are new jobs that you can sort of create, and you can educate and train the students so that not everybody wants to be an AI programmer because they don't have the STEM strength, but they can be an AI collaborator, they can work with one-arm robots, they know how to work well with this one-arm robot. Someone was saying about a prompt engineer, those are new jobs that are coming up. So that's how you should position yourself. You should understand the beast that is called AI and dissect it and see, okay, we can do this. Malaysia is more towards this end of AI. We have got these industries who are coming up, E&E, they need this kind of AI where it's more maintenance, more routine, more collaborative. In the end, if we are going into research, we need people who can sort of work with AI to come up with new innovative things. So it's not a very impossible task. It's something that can be done if you sit down and think about it and plan it. As I said, it's all about the planning and then, of course, the execution. You cannot just say, AI, I'm going to do AI, okay, let's do programming. And then what's going to happen to the students when they go out? Not everybody, Malaysia is not that ready to be some same level as India. So let's start realistically and then follow through and then slowly climb up the AI ladder until you come to the skills forward where AI programming is one day probably.
Because I know one thing for sure, that AI is a very popular thing among Malaysians. It's just that the problem is that I guess one thing that's a bit frustrating is that there's not many job opportunities yet. The readiness lah. I mean, I guess my editor is an AI graduate. Yeah, he's been saying to me he's getting like a lot of figures. I mean, not gonna lie, kind of jealous of you, man. But it's okay. But yeah, and I guess one thing that, just to wrap things off, what are you guys excited for TVET in the next years coming?
Yeah, well, I think for Australia, we're excited about this opportunity for even further integration in our education system, where we're not talking about higher education versus TVET. It's just part of the education and skills environment in Australia. And you can go into it, you can move into other areas, you can go back to it. So that's what I think is the really exciting thing. The AI piece, it's certainly not my area of expertise too, but clearly it's not something we're going to be able to fight. So I think we have to figure out, all of us in our own countries and within our own cultures, how we use AI as a force for good, how we help people use it in the education system, whether that's in TVET, whether that's in higher education, whether it's in skills training. I think that a lot of our technical jobs and trades jobs that our TVET graduates go into, those roles are going to be heavily impacted by AI and machine learning. So how do we then train them to use AI to do those jobs better than how they're being done today?
What about you, Dr. Nana?
Yes, definitely. I mean, AI is here to stay. AI, you shouldn't be afraid of AI. It's going to be part of you. Probably it's going to expand more. Your friend there will know about the word singularity. There's people are saying, oh, everything is going to become it's going to become one intelligent super being. That's what they are saying. I mean, science fiction stuff, Skynet and the Terminator and all of that. Well, there's a long way to go, but it's here to stay, right? And I have been a user of ChatGPT recently. Well, not recently, but 1 month last, and I find it to be totally helpful. And nothing to be afraid of, it liberates you. That's the difference to it. Yeah, it liberates you. So that you become a better thinker, organize your ideas well, you have somebody to, debate with, know you're wrong, know you're right. That kind of, it reminds me of Star Trek with that data. There's a robot there, but you can always ask it to do things and so on. So you have got your own data at home. I call her Maya. In fact, I asked ChatGPT, what would you like to be called? Well, choose a name for yourself, but make sure it's a lady. So blink, 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 blink. Please call me Maya. Maya stands for, we say here, yeah. So that's the AI assistant. But I have got to keep the prompt because I jumped from chat to chat. So it reminds itself. Whenever I say, Maya, where are you? Oh, I'm studying. It's why. Oh. So these are the interesting things that you can experiment with ChatGPT. Yeah.
You know what? This reminds me of a movie. I'm not sure if you know Her, the movie Her.
Yeah, okay. Right.
Yeah.
Fell in love with her.
I'm sorry, but the reason why I'm laughing because I have one funny experience with my video editor. So it was 3 a.m. in the morning. I came to UM, and then he was like, "Hey, I'm doing an assignment. Want to watch Her?" And then we were watching it all night. But actually, that's kind of true. Your experience. It's interesting because I can really relate how you use AI because I use it the same way, but on a cheaper version.
Right.
How do I use it? Like this. So this is one time I was texting a girl I like, right? So, so you can see where this is going, right?
Right.
So thing is, I'm not gonna say I'm not good, but I'm just anxious, right? I'm just anxious of how people text online because when you text online, you don't know what their faces look like, right? And you don't know how the intonation works, right? So sometimes I will use ChatGPT and ChatGPT, what does this mean?
Okay.
I would dissect it one by one, every time. Yeah, and it never fails me to feel reassured.
Right. Oh, I have to try that out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I want to try and fix something new. Is that if it could actually create better responses for me to chat back.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe I should try that with my husband. He's a physicist, and sometimes he sends me text, and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Because I find he just expresses things in such a different way to me. And sometimes we're talking and we're saying the same thing, but to me it sounds like he's contradicting
So
me.
you're Penny and he's Leonard.
Yeah,
in the
that's
Big
right.
Bang Theory.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
Yeah, exactly. He is,
Interesting.
and he is a Leonard and not a Sheldon. He's an experimental physicist. So.
See.
And I guess one more thing I am also excited about TVET. You know what's the one thing I'm also excited of? My haircuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think your barber is very excited that you're going to pay him more.
I hope I get to pay him more. Who knows? He'll just become my personal barber.
Well,
Yeah.
and you know, maybe the next time you go, he's going to have a digital twin.
Wow. Okay. I mean, I don't know what about having.
Like if you have me, I'll charge you 50 ringgit. But if you go with my robot friend here, it'll only cost you 25 ringgit.
Whoa! Right.
Or what
Which one are you going to choose?
And the robot has got the voice of Scarlett Johansson, just like her. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with that one.
That would be weird if the robot looks like him, though, with Scarlett Johansson's voice.
It's giving me flashback of that movie. Yeah. Oh,
But let's stick with that. I mean, if it happens, the barber shop, you've got a robot, he will do the routine work.
Oh yeah.
You know, and then the actual barber comes in and he does the finishing human
like,
touch, right?
Anyone with curls, you have to come to me.
Oh, okay, right.
That's how it works. It's going to change a lot.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess we can talk all day about AI, right? Yeah, and I guess it's quite interesting how we talk the policies, the frameworks, and also how Malaysia and Malaysia and Australia dynamics into all this, right? I guess this is probably one of the most fun episodes I had with old people.
Thanks for
Old people with young personalities. Yeah. So thank you so much for being.
Thank you.
For being
Thank you so much
energetic.
for having us.
Yeah, for being energetic, for being very very active in the conversation. Yeah, and I guess I probably have to brush my English here and there.
No. You guys, as I was saying in the break, here in Malaysia, the level of English spoken is phenomenal. You guys really Malaysia should be extremely proud of that.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, thank you for listening to Wak Nonjol Malay Park. I think this is, we already just listened to Samuel Saya now and we listened to Dr. and Miss Fiona. Then we're going to go into the alternative education pathways with Jeff Sandu and Zainal Azhar, right? So you can listen to this podcast on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And you can listen and you can follow Wak Nonjol Malay Park on Instagram, Facebook, we don't have Twitter, Telegram, LinkedIn, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, but just follow us on Instagram really because we are more active there. Yeah. I guess you guys have a private life. You guys want to promote anything?
Oh, do I want to promote anything? Well, always have a look at the Australian High Commission account as well. There you go. We always have interesting things that we're doing, interesting policy stuff, interesting events.
Yep. How are you, Dr. Nana?
My book?
Yeah. Tell us about your book.
Just Google in Nana Abidin, The Land of 1,000 Bridges. Yeah, 1,000 bridges. It took me 10 years to complete the book. Okay. It's about 700 pages long. Okay. I didn't have enough cash to break into 3, because it would be more expensive. So everything is in one. It's about an era where Asia it's a mystical Asia, right? It's a long ago, eons ago Asia, where everything is more on a mystic stage and so on. And we have got, there are no regions like Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. The names are all matched together. We have got a character called Amina Xiaofei, who is Malay Chinese, We've got characters like names like Tun Azhar. Azhar is a Jewish name, So we've got Patisha Al-Rauf, So these are names that come from the Malaysian, the Asian continent, and they are part of a character of a world I've created where magic is being practiced, but there's another part of the country that doesn't refuse to use magic, wants to progress using quote unquote technology. So there's this clash between them. So that's what the story is all about. The Land of 1,000 Bridges.
Sounds great. Can I buy it in an electronic?
Of course. Definitely. PDF for sure.
I just hope it's better than Third. Yeah. Maybe it could be a movie one day,
Oh, yes, inshallah. Maybe a small part of it can be a movie. I'm also writing short stories based on that world. So I'm trying to come out with the audio book, so I've got to experiment.
Okay, all right. I guess that's the end of the episode. Thank you, Dr. Nanda.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Fiona. And we'll see you in our next episode on alternative education with Zainal Azhar. See you then.
Bye.